The second paper is from Finland, place names used by the first generation Finnish Americans, examining migration letters.
Hello everyone, my name is Hanna Virranpää and I am a doctoral researcher in University of Helsinki, Finland. And my headline for this presentation today is place names used by the first generation Finnish Americans, examining migration letters. So, hello and good morning or afternoon or evening for everyone. It's great to be part of this annual meeting, and I feel very honored and glad to be able to give you this presentation. So as the headline of this presentation says, let's go back to the turn of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In this presentation, I will first give some background information and context of my ongoing research. My research is quite broad and multidisciplinary, so I try my best to keep this quick but still informative as possible. This presentation is mostly based on my forthcoming and very first paper that will be published this year. So the context of this research. In my research, I study historical migrant letters or migration letters or immigrant letters, how you want to put it. More specifically, letters that has been written by Finnish people who emigrated from Finland to North America and especially to US and Canada between 1870s and 1940s. And this period of time is also called the era of mass migration from Europe to North America. So the context is that a Finn who didn't know any word of English left Finland for a country they also didn't know at all. And those who left from Finland were mostly uneducated common people, for example, crofters and farmers, etc. So the correspondence with family and relatives was the most common way to keep in touch with them. And in these letters, it was very important to tell where you were in the new country. But at that time, the level of writing skills was very low in Finland. So this is the reason why I'm interested in my research, that what kind of places did Finnish settler migrants talk about when they wrote letters to their relatives, and what place names did they use, and how did they use official place names since they didn't know any English, for example. I'm also interested that did they give names to their new residential areas? I can already give an answer that yes, they did. And what do the place names used by Finnish settler migrants tell us about settler colonialism, and what about attachment to place or places and place names? So these are my the broader research questions of my whole PhD project, but in this presentation I will only focus on the what kind of place names they used. Since my research is multidisciplinary, I have utilized a variety of previous studies to support my analysis. Primarily, my research represents socionomastics, which I use examining the use and variation of place name use and name users' relationship to the place or places. And historical sociolinguistics, since the research material is historical and I analyze written Finnish. Of course, when two different languages met, I've used contact onomastics when examining the language of the place name and the adaptation from English to Finnish. And since the context is that Finns, along with other settler migrants from Europe, came to the indigenous lands, I, as a researcher, find it paramount to scrutinize this topic with the settler colonial studies and with critical onomastics. I will briefly give some background information about literacy skills in the 19th and 20th century Finland. As late as the 1880s, only 12.5% of Finns over the age of 10 could write, and in rural areas the proportion of people with writing skills fell to less than 1/10. And in my research, it's very important to notice these signs that may indicate poor writing skills, especially because I'm studying the first generation Finnish Americans, and these signs are spoken language, strong dialect, or the use of dialectal expressions, features of face-to-face conversation, and shaky spelling. My research material consists of over 400 letters. I have read over 400 letters, and that's quite a lot. These letters were sent from North America to Finland between 1881 and 1939. And all letters are written in Finnish. And in these letters, almost 200 different place names appear, and in all, place names are used 881 times. These letters are part of the migration collections of the Migration Institute of Finland. And on the right, you can see a picture of a letter that has been written in 1895. You don't need to try to read it since it's in Finnish, but it's here as a reference to help you understand what letters look like back then. So, what kind of place names? In my first study, I was able to identify 5 different categories. This means that writers have used 1, official place names, 2, combinations of place name and appellative, adjective, or postposition. I have given an example. The first is written in Finnish. It is from the letter, and I have translated it into the English. In this example, the writer has told to the reader that minä päätin lähteä Ohion puolelle. This translates as I decided to go to Ohio side. So this puolelle in Finnish is the postposition, which translates to as a side, which you don't even actually need when you say I decided to go to Ohio. You don't need to say the side, but this writer has used the postposition with the place name Ohio. 3, place names with phonological changes. 4, abbreviations or nicknames. For example, 2 writers have called a village named Lainsville with a Finnish nickname Lenska. And the second example, considering the San Francisco, is probably more familiar with the people living in the States. One writer has used Frisco when talking about San Francisco. And 5, translations. For example, one writer has talked about an island named Viheriä saari in Finnish, by which they meant Green Island. So this viheriä is a dialectal expression of the word vihreä, which is green in English, and saari is island. Due to limited time, I will only have time to present groups 1 and 3 more closely. So first, the official place names. When the writers have used official place names, the body of the name has not changed when the name is inflected. So this means that the Finnish suffixes are just added after the name. You can see this in example 1. The first line is in Finnish, that is from the letter, and I have translated that into English. So the first in Finnish, hänkin on ollut jo täällä British Columbiassa. So the inessive case SSA is just added after the name, and this is how we do it in Finnish, in Finnish language. And this translates that he also has already been here in British Columbia. If the name ends in a consonant, like Los Angeles, the suffix is attached to the name with vowel E, and this is also the case in Finnish. You can see this in example 2. The first is in Finnish. Sitten menimme Los Angelesiin. This is the illative case. That is in English. Then we went to Los Angeles. You can also see in this example 2 that the writer has used an apostrophe to separate the body of the name and the suffix. And this tells us that the writer has probably been very experienced in writing. Next, we have more official place names. They have also been used 3 Finnish place names in the letters. These names were given by Finns, and I consider these as colonial place names. These are Kaleva, and that is a village in Michigan, and it still exists. It was named after the national epic of Finland and Karelia, called Kalevala. The second is Nurmijärvi. That is a former residential area in the village of Finlayson, Minnesota. It was most likely named after Nurmijärvi municipality, that is and still is a town located in southern Finland. And the last is New Finland, which was also a former residential area, but in Saskatchewan, Finland. Sorry, Canada. And it was named after Finland, obviously. Although I consider these names as colonial place names, these names have, of course, had a symbolic meaning that strengthened Finnish identity. Place names also helped create a sense of belonging. For example, I am in this new country, but I still belong to Finland through these Finnish place names. Place names that refer to Finland are in Finnish and/or contain Finnish elements, probably still have great significance in American and Canadian Finnish communities today. Next, we have place names with phonological changes. Phonological adaptation is the most common and typical way of borrowing a foreign name into one's own language. In this case, this means that the foreign sounds and sound or consonant combinations were replaced with Finnish sounds. In this slide, there are a few examples of consonant and consonant combinations. And the examples are from the letters, and the name in its correct spelled form is in the brackets. So B, D, G, and C are foreign sounds in Finnish language. So first we have here B that has been replaced with P. So the name Boston. Boston is written as Bosto. And D has been replaced with T. So the name Duluth has been written as Duluth. And G has been replaced with K. So the name Gloucester has been written as Glaukesteri. And same case with the consonant combinations. For example, CH and SH that make the sh sound, for example, in the name Chicago, has been replaced with S. So the Chicago has been written as Chicago. And the H combination or the sound has been replaced with T. So, for example, North Dakota has been written as North Dakota. Next, we have few examples of vowel changes. As we know, in English, there are many ways to pronounce, for example, vowel R, but in Finnish, it's just R or long R. First, we have here magnolia, which has been written with Finnish vowel Ä, magnolia. I strongly believe that it is due to that the first R of the name magnolia is pronounced in such way that it resembles the Finnish vowel Ä. So when we say magnolia, it sounds like Ä for Finnish people mostly. So this is why the writer has written the magnolia as magnolia. And same case with ironwood, there is the I sound, and this is why the writer has used ironwood as airvuti in the letters. And same case with the name Eli. I hope I pronounced it correctly. The writer has followed the name's pronunciation or almost tried to follow. So these examples show that the Finns have at least heard how names are pronounced, from which we can conclude that they were in contact with people who knew how to pronounce them. And from this you can also see, or probably hear, that in Finnish language we the words and names are pronounced as they are written. So finally, some findings and thoughts. My research has shown that writers whose writing skills were lower tend to use more phonological adapted place names, and vice versa. Those who were more experienced writers use official place names. In addition, the letters and the place name usage show clear evidence of settled colonialism, especially when places have been named after Finland or with the name that is in Finnish. I also consider this as spreading the colonialist worldview through letters to Finland, even though that has been most likely done unconsciously. For example, one writer wrote to his wife and family in 1890s that there is a whole town in here and everybody are Finnish. That must have been nice and familiar thing and safe thing even for the writer and their point of view, but it also signals that as an immigrant you have had the opportunity to establish your own place or a whole town pretty much, or a village pretty much everywhere you wanted. I've also been wondering if using a particular name variant is a way to express one's identity. By this I mean that if a writer has used an official place name in its correct form, it of course may indicate a good writing skills, but perhaps also that the author wants to express to reader that they belong to American society. This has also given me the idea that to what extent the use of phonologically adapted names would be a sign of some kind of resistance. For example, Kearns and Berg have noticed that the way the name is pronounced or written, that is added by me in the quote, reflects and contributes to the constitution of imagined communities. It has also been studied that all Finnish settler migrants didn't necessarily even want to learn any English. But this would also, of course, need more research. And obviously, we can't figure out any individual's thoughts from this time. So now I would like to thank you all for your interest and listening. Thank you. Kiitos, Passipo. If you have any questions or comments, I will try my best to answer them. But you can also send me an email. And last but not least, I would like to mention that my research is part of a new research project. Lenska ja Suomi Hall. I have written the project's name in Finnish, but it translates as attachment to places and place names in the migrant letters and in a video game. And this project is funded by Kone Foundation and led by Terhi Ainiala, who has also been here giving their presentation in this annual meeting. So once again, thank you. Thanks a lot. And here are my references.
And thank you very much, Hanna. We have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one from Sarah Wickman. Is there any evidence that places given Finnish names were founded by Finnish immigrants, as opposed to places whose names were adopted from English or other local languages by the Finnish immigrants?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Well, of course, there is no definite evidence, but I believe that the names that Finnish people have given to the place, they are founded by Finnish immigrants, the places. But yeah, I don't have, I'm not definitely sure about that.
Okay. And then one from David Wade saying, first of all, interesting presentation. Nice to hear spoken Finnish again. Did you happen to notice if the migrant Finns preferred to move to particular locations in North America? And then finally, Kitos, Kitts.
Yeah, kiitos. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it has been already noticed in previous studies that Finnish people mostly went to the Minnesota and Michigan and Wisconsin. So near the Great Lakes or Superior Lakes, I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, mostly there.
Perhaps because the environment was similar?
Yeah, that has been suggested. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Marianne Walter, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I was immediately struck by your example on slide 10 of Gloucester, because the others, as you said, are mostly based on actual pronunciations, but for this one, the Finnish name was clearly not. It was based on a spelling pronunciation. So I guess this person was literate and hadn't heard it pronounced, and also, or maybe was trying to mispronounce it, as you suggested, as a signal of identity. Was there anything more you could tell us about this particular name?
You mean Glaukesteri? Okay. Yes, this writer is actually quite interesting because this how do I say it? before using this Glaukesteri name or variant, he actually used a bit different variant that is just Glaasteri or Kalasteri. So this Glaukesteri is actually more closer to this Gloucester than the previous ones, which he used a couple of years before this Glaukesteri name. So I also think that this might be a sign of knowing the place names better, or getting know to them better. You know, I can write the variant into the chat. It was like this before Glaukesteri.
Thank you. Putting it in the chat helps.
Yeah.
And Brandon, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you so much for this just excellent presentation. I currently live in Massachusetts and in Boston near Gloucester. But I grew up in Minnesota, so all of the Minnesota place names were so familiar to me. We have a very particular way of pronouncing some of these cities. You mentioned Eli, but quite typically it was Ely. So people would pronounce it Ely. In Minnesotan English, if we can say that. But I just wanted to say I so very much appreciated seeing that sort of Finnish influence in the place names, and many of the place names that you mentioned geographically are in northern or north central Minnesota. Where we see these abundant Finnish populations, and the last thing I'll mention, it's totally anecdotally, but when we had our sort of the religious studies, biblical studies international conference in Helsinki back in 2017 or 2018, and part of our trip, my wife and I rented a car and drove through the countryside and rented a cabin, and just so much of that, anecdotally speaking, that countryside just reminded me of northern Minnesota. If if I just woke up there, I'd wonder if I was up in the sort of boundary waters area between Minnesota and Canada. But thank you again for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.